It all starts with that familiar voice welcoming everyone back, like nothing in the world is about to explode. "Welcome to Royal Daily Report," they say, casually, as if what follows isn't about to rip the royal world wide open. Subscribe, stay informed, the usual routine. But behind that calm opening, absolute chaos. Because what comes next isn't just another rumor, another Sussex spat, another royal tantrum. This is the kind of story that makes people sit up, rewind, and whisper, "Wait, what?" The description of the Portland hospital, the birth story that everyone was fed, suddenly feels off. Not just questionable, completely fabricated. People knew something was wrong from the beginning, even if they couldn't put their finger on it. And what makes it sting more is how close it hits to the Queen herself. Because let's be honest, this wasn't just sloppy. It felt rude, spiteful, especially coming from someone who had married into the royal family not that long ago. Someone who once smiled for cameras, played with children, laughed with Usain Bolt, and seemed so full of promise. And now, that image has twisted into something darker, colder, vengeful. And Prince Harry? By all accounts, he's not just stressed, he's unraveling. Complete meltdown mode. And frankly, can anyone really blame him? Tom Bower has just dropped what many are calling the most devastating bombshell yet about the Sussex children, and the shockwaves are hitting every corner of the royal universe. These aren't harmless whispers. These are allegations powerful enough to destroy Harry's reputation, tear Meghan's carefully curated image to shreds, and potentially erase Archie and Lilibet from the royal line of succession entirely. Then Lady Colin Campbell steps onto live television and calmly says something so explosive that Harry's legal team reportedly started firing off threats before she even finished speaking. People watching could practically see the panic, the scrambling, the fear, because what she said wasn't framed as speculation. It wasn't allegedly or sources suggest. She looked straight into the camera and said it plainly. Archie and Lilibet are Harry's children, but they were not born of Meghan Markle. Just like that. No hesitation, no backtracking. A confident assertion from someone known to have deep connections inside royal circles. The silence afterward wasn't dramatic for effect, it was devastating. Because when a claim like that drops into the public domain, it doesn't just disappear. And Harry's reaction? Immediate, defensive, aggressive, legal threats, flying before the interview even wrapped. His team slammed the comments as disgusting, invasive, unacceptable. But here's the thing everyone noticed. If there's nothing to hide, why the panic? Why not just shut it down with proof? Instead, the silence from Montecito got louder. Meghan and Harry were photographed out on a sushi date in California, smiling for the cameras, trying to project normalcy. Celebrating Archie's birthday. Carrying on. But when questions about bloodlines and royal succession are swirling, silence doesn't calm anything. It feeds the storm. The internet went wild. Those pregnancy photos that people had questioned for years suddenly felt different. Hands placed just so. Bumps that seemed to shift, change shape, sit unnaturally. Entire threads dissecting every angle, every outfit, every step. People weren't whispering anymore. They were demanding answers. Loudly. Tom Bower's claims weren't just about whether Meghan carried the children herself. He was reportedly suggesting something far worse. That the entire family narrative might be one massive deception. That privacy and compensation were promised. That secrecy wasn't accidental, it was deliberate. And then the timeline. Oh, the timeline. The palace announced Meghan was in labor a full 7 hours after Archie had already been born. 7 hours. That alone made people stop and stare. Then there's the location. Archie was supposedly born at Portland Hospital, while Harry and Meghan were living just minutes away at Frogmore. And yet Harry wrote in his own memoir that they were back home within 2 hours of the birth. 2 hours. Anyone who has ever witnessed childbirth knows that's not how reality works. The inconsistencies piled up fast, faster than anyone could spin them away. And when William and Kate's children were born, the world saw them almost immediately. Doctors, hospital steps, official confirmations. With Archie and Lilibet, days of delay. Carefully staged photos, controlled releases. Nothing spontaneous, nothing raw. And here's where it gets dangerous. There's a British law, obscure but critical, that states royal heirs must be born of the body to inherit titles and remain in the line of succession. This isn't tradition, it's constitutional. And if surrogacy was involved, if third-party donors played a role, if biological parentage isn't what the public was told, then everything changes. Archie and Lilibet currently sit 6th and 7th in line to the throne. That status could vanish overnight. The palace took months to update the line of succession on its website. Months. When other births are acknowledged within days. Insiders whispered that quiet investigations were happening behind the scenes. Verifications, double checks, caution. Lady Colin Campbell didn't back down. She demanded absolute proof. Proof that Meghan carried and delivered those children. No proof, no legitimacy. Her confidence suggested she knew more than she was saying. Meanwhile, reports from Montecito painted a grim picture. Harry pacing halls, spiraling, snapping at staff, obsessively monitoring social media. A man once celebrated as Diana's son, the soldier prince, now coming apart under pressure. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The mental health advocate unable to manage his own collapse. And Meghan, cold, calculated. Legal letters flying. Lawsuit threats everywhere. But lawsuits come with discovery, depositions, medical records, witness testimony. The very thing they're trying to avoid could be forced into the open. She even tried to counter the rumors with a video, dancing in what appeared to be a hospital room, baby bump on full display. And yet, critics immediately tore it apart. Timing, appearance, staging. Nothing landed the way it was supposed to. What makes this even more unsettling is the royal family's distance from the children. George, Charlotte, and Louis are constantly seen with family, integrated, embraced. Archie and Lilibet? Always at arm's length. Even before the California move. Even when Harry and Meghan were still working royals. That distance feels intentional. And then Meghan's own family entered the fray. Thomas Markle questioning whether his daughter gave birth at all. Samantha Markle openly suggesting that if surrogates were used, the truth should be admitted, even hinting that questions might extend beyond surrogacy to biological paternity itself. That's not gossip anymore. That's nuclear. The pressure keeps building. Calls for DNA testing grow louder. One simple test could silence everything. And yet, it doesn't happen. And that refusal speaks volumes. Because if Harry agrees and the results contradict the official story, everything collapses. If he refuses, the questions never stop. Either way, the stain remains. Every legal threat makes them look more desperate. Every attempt at damage control makes people dig deeper. This isn't about PR anymore. This is about bloodlines, legitimacy, and the foundation of monarchy itself. These questions don't fade. They linger. They get passed down through generations. Tom Bower didn't just scratch the surface. He ripped it open. And now the storm is only beginning. More sources are promising, more revelations, more voices are speaking up, and Harry and Meghan's silence only makes the shadows darker. Royal scandals come and go. But questions about succession? Those last forever. And right now, the world is watching Harry run out of ways to control a narrative that's shaping his children's future. So the question hangs heavy in the air. Will Harry finally choose transparency? Will he end it all with proof? Or will silence continue to do the damage for him? Because every day this drags on, the truth feels closer. And the longer it's avoided, the more devastating it becomes. And here's the part nobody can stop thinking about. The part that keeps people awake scrolling through comments at 3 in the morning, because once this question gets into your head, it refuses to leave. If this was all nonsense, if it was truly vile fabrication, if there was absolutely nothing to hide, this would have been shut down years ago. One document, one medical confirmation, one clear, boring, indisputable piece of evidence. That's all it would take. And yet, nothing. Just silence, threats, and carefully staged distractions. People are starting to say it out loud now, not just behind anonymous accounts. Something doesn't add up, and it never did. The way the pregnancies were handled, the secrecy wrapped so tightly around moments that are usually celebrated publicly in royal life, the shifting stories, the oddly convenient timelines. None of it feels accidental anymore. It feels engineered, and the more it's examined, the shakier it becomes. What really unnerves observers is how Harry seems trapped inside this mess, like a man who knows the walls are closing in but can't figure out which way to run. Every report describes him the same way: tense, reactive, exhausted, obsessed with controlling a narrative that's already slipped through his fingers. This isn't the confident prince who once joked with reporters and stood tall in uniform. This is someone bracing for impact, flinching at every new headline, terrified of what tomorrow might bring. And the tragedy of it all is that this isn't just about him anymore. It's about 2 children growing up under a cloud of doubt they never asked for. Children whose names are now permanently attached to question marks. Children who may one day Google themselves and find endless debates about whether they belong where history placed them. That's not protection, that's damage. The palace's silence continues to feel deafening. Not angry, not defensive, just distant. Strategic. Almost as if they're watching from the sidelines, waiting to see how this plays out before deciding where to stand. And that alone tells a story, because when the royal family wants to shut something down, they know how. They've done it countless times before. This time, they're not rushing in. They're not correcting the record. They're letting the noise grow. Meanwhile, the public mood has shifted. This isn't blind fandom or tabloid hysteria anymore. It's skepticism. It's logic. It's people laying timelines side by side and asking basic questions that never received clear answers. Why the delays? Why the inconsistencies? Why the extreme secrecy when transparency would have ended it all? Every attempt to redirect attention only makes it worse. A new appearance, a new photo, a new project announcement. None of it lands the way it used to. Because underneath everything now sits this unresolved question, pulsing beneath every headline. And no amount of smiling sushi dates or carefully worded statements can drown it out. Harry's biggest nightmare may not even be the truth itself, but the loss of control. The realization that he can't spin this away, can't outweight it, can't threaten it into silence. Once the public starts demanding proof instead of stories, the game changes. And right now, he's losing. What makes this saga so brutal is how permanent it feels. Interviews fade, documentaries age, but questions about legitimacy? Those carve themselves into history books. Even if answers eventually come, the doubt will always be part of the story. Always an asterisk. Always a but. And that's the cruel irony. In trying so desperately to protect their privacy, they may have created the very storm that refuses to leave them alone. Because secrecy invites suspicion. Silence breeds speculation. And legal threats only make people lean in closer. At this point, the world isn't asking for drama. It's asking for clarity. One clear moment of honesty that cuts through years of confusion. But every day that moment doesn't arrive, the conclusion hardens in people's minds that there's a reason it hasn't. And so the pressure keeps building, media scrutiny intensifies. Commentators sharpen their language, legal experts weigh in. Family members speak up, the story grows teeth. And Harry, once the prince who walked away from the monarchy to find peace, now looks more trapped than ever, caught between the truth he fears and the lie he can no longer maintain. Whether this ends in revelation, legal disaster, or continued silence, one thing is already certain. This controversy has changed how the world sees them forever. The fairy tale is gone. What remains is suspicion, unanswered questions, and a legacy that feels dangerously unstable. And until those questions are answered, this story isn't ending. It's only getting louder.